So apparently I need to clear the air on something. And I guess you can count this as like an educational video, if you will. Just because I'm fat doesn't mean I don't need a feeding tube. So a lot of people have this impression that in order to be on a feeding tube, you need to be very skinny, malnourished, basically maybe anorexic or some other eating disorder where you can't keep the weight on, you need it to gain weight, etc. That is not the case for everybody. Yes, it is not as common to see oversized people with a feeding tube. However, medical conditions need the feeding tube. So, gastroparesis. Yes, I may not have the full diagnosis of a gastroparesis because my emptying test came back at 9%, not 10%. And people can argue with me that 10% after 4 hours is normal. That's fine and dandy. The gastroparesis diagnosis comes from the stomach emptying test having 10% or more left after 4 hours. So regardless if it's normal or not to have food left in your stomach, 10% food or more left in your stomach after 4 hours, it's still what is required for the gastroparesis diagnosis. Again, I had 9% left last year when I had the test done. So that's why I don't have the official diagnosis, but my current GI plus the GI I went and seen in Hamilton for a second opinion both said that it's still gastroparesis, just not with the diagnosis title, but they're still considering it gastroparesis because I have all of the symptoms of gastroparesis. Sorry, I had to turn the light off behind me because it was way too bright in my camera. So anyways, so yes, I am plus sized, and yes, I have a feeding tube, and I'm running feed. It's pink right now because I used the last of my Pedialyte last night when I mixed up my electrolyte drink, and it's just finishing that off now. So yes, I am big, and yes, I have a feeding tube. I do have gastroparesis. At the beginning stages of gastroparesis, more or less, is how I've been told to describe it, because my stomach at this time is not 100% paralyzed. Thank goodness for that. I do know people that do have 100% paralysis of their stomach. I pray I never ever end up with 100% paralysis, but you never know what could happen. At this time, there is no cure for gastroparesis. There is some medications that you can be on that might help the symptoms, like help the nausea, help the vomiting, help with the motility. And so there are some medications. I know one is domperidone. I've been on it. They removed me because it was causing heart issues. Not my diagnosis for heart issues. They were doing weekly EKGs on me. They must have seen something because they pulled me off of it. The other one I've heard of is Reglan, I think. I think that's how you say it. I've heard of that one. I've never been on it. I was on an antidepressant as well. It's supposed to help with motility. And I can't remember what it's called now, but it starts with an A. I've mentioned it before. If anybody remembers or knows what I'm talking about, you can let me know in the comments. I can't remember what it was now, but that was also supposed to help. It didn't help. When I was in a flare, it didn't help, which is what I'm currently going through, is a flare. And I have been for the last few months now, where I've been on my tube. Now, when I say I'm strictly tube fed, I mean I'm strictly tube fed. There may be times while I'm on the tube that I can have something little. Excuse the box being upside down, but I opened it on the wrong end, like these, right? I can have a package every now and again. This box is still at least half full, and I got it last month, or a month before now, I can't remember. It's just these little crackers. They look like Melba Toast. The box calls them cookies, but they're really not cookies. Again, they're like a Melba Toast with almonds and cranberries in it. And I can manage to keep one of these packages down. Yes, there's a video floating around of me eating a KFC chicken wrap. Yes, I ate it because I was having a sugar low, and that was what we grabbed. Now, I ate half of it. I gave the other half to Bestie, even though nobody believes that part, but they didn't catch that part on film, of course. They only caught me eating it. I gave the rest to Bestie because I couldn't finish it. I started with stomach pains right away. By the time we got home, I was very, very sick, and I threw up the chicken wrap. That was a mistake. I should have gotten something lighter. I could have went to Booster Juice, got a smoothie. It would have raised my sugars just as well. and it has protein, so it would have kept them up. But I didn't think of that in the moment. In the moment, I just thought, I need something that's going to spike my sugars. I went around it the wrong way. I'm learning still. I've been diagnosed with diabetes for a few years. However, I don't have much education behind it. I will fully admit it. Yes, I have a diabetic nurse. We don't communicate too often. Right now, the communication surrounding getting the insulin pump and getting that set up. I've got an insulin pump to use for now. I just need to get the cartridges and the infusion sets for it before I can use it. That's pretty much all of our conversations right now is surrounding that, as well as my formula. We were having a bunch back and forth with my dietitian about the formula. So let's debunk this. You have to be skinny. You have to be basically completely malnourished before they'll put you on a feeding tube. That is not always true. So when I say that I didn't have a significant diagnosis or they couldn't find what was wrong, and that it was a dietitian that ordered the feeding tube to be put in, what I mean by that is that all the tests were coming back at the low end of normal. So again, my stomach emptying test come back at 9% left in my system. That is just below the threshold, right? Same with, they did a HIDA scan on my gallbladder. And they said the gallbladder was inflamed, but they didn't see any stones. Now, gallbladder being inflamed could just be because I am obese. They said that, all my test results, every test they did, and I had so many tests I can't even remember them all, but they all came back normal, but at the line, just at the line. Had I been a smidge, the test result came back a smidge different, it would have put me over and into a full diagnosis. So at this point, that's where I'm sitting. I'm waiting to hear back from my GI specialist to see if she wants to do another stomach emptying test to see if it's improved, if it's gotten worse, because I've been on the tube now for a few months, not being able to actually consume food properly without being sick. So I feel like it may have gotten worse, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But I am I am waiting to hear back on if she's sending me for another test or not. Of course, I'll keep you guys updated. But I kind of want to come on here and clear the air on that, because I've seen this on a lot of different people's posts that talk about feeding tubes. I did a video response one time to somebody saying, can you be fattened on a feeding tube? I was like, proof that yes, you can. So I'm on the feeding tube because the doctor thought it was right. Because regardless of what the dietitian said, in the end, it's not her call. She can fight for me to be on a tube, or she could have fought, for whatever, but she's not the doctor, so it's not her call. She still had to go to the GI specialist about it. And so the GI specialist was the one that did put the order in and continues to fill the orders for me to have my feeding tube changed. The orders have to be put in every 6 months, I believe it is. And she's been doing so since 2021. So obviously she feels there's a need for the feeding tube. And at the end of the day, it's the doctors who matter, not people on the internet. So people can think what they want. People can, about me, about feeding tubes in general, about whether or not I need to be on a feeding tube. Because I know a lot of people are sitting here going, she's fat and she eats. She don't need a feeding tube. Got one part right, I'm fat. I do eat when I can. But if I'm on the tube, I'm on the tube. Except for the mistake I made of getting that chicken wrap. Other than that, I don't sit down and eat meals while I'm on the tube. That doesn't happen. It's one or the other. I get more than enough calories with just my tube feed. I don't need to add more calories to that. Anyways, I hope you found this video educational, maybe insightful, and I hope you have a good day. If anybody has anything negative to say, you may as well keep on scrolling, because I just completely delete or ignore those comments. Bye, everybody.